what we're going to do here today is I'm going to take you through the create task. I'm going to take you through it. We're going to review the chief reader report. We're going to talk about all the pitfalls that the students make, everything you can do to help them avoid those pitfalls. And then more importantly, we're going to talk in detail about the role that AI now plays on the create performance task and how your students can use AI to not only build their program, but more importantly, to really iterate their written responses before they take the exam so that they really understand their program. Because the reason College Board has no problem with letting them co-pilot this thing with ChatGPT is because in the end, they're going to have to answer very rigorous questions. And that's where you'll see when I show you the data in 1 second, this test has not gotten easier because of AI. It's actually gotten harder for the students, okay? So we are going to go through how UTeach shows our teachers to do the create performance task. And the good thing is that even if you don't use UTeach curriculum, I'm sharing all the stuff with you in PDF format so you can go back to the classroom and do this with your students. So we're just going to jump right in. We're going to get started. I'm solo here today. If you have any questions, just drop them in the Zoom chat box. I will stop talking. All right. And yeah, let's get started. I got a lot of good stuff I want to share. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is insights from the 2024 Chief Reader Report. Okay. Now, the Chief Reader Report for 2025 has still not come out yet. Okay. It should be coming out. And I'm not even kidding you, like any day now. Okay, no worries. Let me drop that link in one more time. That's how you join the course. So any day now, we'll actually probably get an updated one of what you're seeing on the right side of the screen, the Chief Reader Report. And first, I'm going to just show you some highlights in the Chief Reader Report. And then on the left side of the screen, I've called out the top 5 things that you should really focus in from that Chief Reader Report. All right. And on the left side of the screen, I also have a fireside chat that I did with Mark Emery. Now, you might notice that name, Mark Emery. You might follow him on Twitter. All right. He is our College Board guy. He is the assistant chief reader. He is highly involved in it. So if you have a couple minutes and you want to watch that on your own time, yeah, it's I know Mark, I know Jeff Gray, they're like the big wigs that do this. So I like to reach out to them so that they can give feedback directly to the teachers. All right. So let's get started on the left side of the screen. So up here in Codio, if you hit this collapse button, it lets the right side take over all the real estate. Okay. And a couple of things about the class that you're teaching. Number one, it is the fastest growing course in the history of College Board. This course started in 2016. We're about to hit our 10-year anniversary. And there's 175,000 kids who took it in 2024. I'm sure it probably is about 180 on the next one that's coming out. Little public service announcement from Mark. There's 680 teachers who read this exam and grade it. Are you one of them? You should be. Because I know there are people right now in this webinar who have taken my advice and they have signed up to be an AP reader. And no, it's not for the extra cash. There is nothing better. Thank you very much for hitting that up in the chat box. Knew it was going to be you, Tanya. But yeah, this is the best PD ever because it will teach you how to grade it. You will get normed on what to do. You will be able to tell your students exactly what they need to do to get all the points on the rubric because that's what I want you to focus on. This is not supposed to be the culmination of a year worth of programming where they're going to make the best program they ever did. This is where they develop the Legend of Zelda. No way, man. This isn't Mario Kart. What they need to do for the create performance task is write a basic program that in essence is going to sort data. All right. That's what they need to do. All right. So with that being said, that's why it's such a great job to just Google AP CSP Reader, sign up to read the exam. Mark is always looking for people to read it, to grade it. And like I said, it's the little things that are going to push your students over the top. So let's take a look at their scores. All right. First off, the students need to get, okay? Yeah, you could do both, Randall. I believe they grade them at separate times. Or now you do it all remotely. So as long as you don't want to go to Kansas City and get locked in a room and have to sit in there for 8 hours and grade it, I don't recommend it. I think you can do both, okay? And we're not going to get into CSA because, hey, let's just use paper and pencil, but let's just write code instead of letting AI do it. But anyway, let's focus here on CSP. I want you guys to take a look. Your students need to get a 3, 4, or 5 to pass this exam. The overall score is 3, 4, or 5, and we're going to do a deep dive into the score right after this. All right? But let's just do some math here. That means 36% of the kids who take this exam fail it. And I always start my workshop off with that because I want you to know that. And I want you to make your administrators aware of that. This is an AP class. This isn't, let's, kumbaya, grab a guitar and Care Bears and happy time. It's hard. It's rigorous. Kids only get 90 seconds to answer a multiple choice question based on the amount of time they give them. They have to do this program that then gets rigorously scrutinized. So 36% of the kids aren't going to pass. And then look at the average score. It's a 2.9. That's why you're here. You're here so that your kids who would have gotten a 2.9 are going to get a 3. It's that close. That's how close it is to passing and failing this exam. All right. And I always like to say, you're not here for your 5s. Okay. Your 5s up here, the 10% of those students, they don't need you. Okay. They would get a 5 on this exam if you were teaching them or not. Probably similarly for this 1. Okay. This 15% at the bottom, they're taking a CS class and there is nothing better than that, just exposing kids to CS. But there's not much you're going to be able to do to get those kids to the 3. What you're really here is for your 2s, 3s, and your 4s. You're here to keep your 4s on the floor, and you're here to push those 2s over the hump and get them to the 3. All right, because the data doesn't lie. Now, the way the Chief Reader Report lays out is they break down the scoring rubric. Okay, and we're going to break down the scoring rubric in a little bit. It's out of 6 points. Okay, that is the basic part of it. All right, but what this does is it tells us where the students are struggling. It gives us average scores for each question. And then we're able to take the data each year from this Chief Reader Report and then bring it back to the classroom. So what I'm showing you to start is these are pretty much where the students kill it. Okay, the video. Okay, the students can make the video part of this. We'll do a deep dive into the video during this time together. Okay. They usually get the program requirements right. Okay. And then they usually do good on written response number 1. Okay. So normally that's where the students do well. And I'm not going to go into the minutia of it here because we're going to talk about the pullouts here in a second, the big 5 points. Okay. Where they bomb it is algorithmic development, errors in testings, and the procedure question. So that's what we're going to focus on a lot today because one of them really bothers me. The one that bothers me the most is the errors in the testings. Okay, the error in the testing issue is a teaching issue. Okay, it's because teachers don't understand what they mean when they say errors in testing. It should be the home run. I say this every time I do this workshop. This should be the best and the easiest part for the students. And it should be because in the video, they have to show the program's functioning in 2 ways. All right. And I even try to make my students show the program functioning in like 3 ways. But College Board is so easy with their requirements when you break them down that you just have to show 2 things. And those 2 things could be the program running and the program not running. So let's say I designed the program and it was a temperature analysis program. All we do is enter temperature values. And then at the end, I can do something with those values. I can take the average. I can ask it to tell me which day had the highest temperature. We can sort it because that's really what the program needs to do to get a perfect score. All right. But what you show in the video should be the test cases. Okay. If in my temperature analysis program, I put in 87.4 degrees and the program says, thank you for entering that value, that's it working. If I type in the word dog and it does nothing, well, it's not supposed to do anything if I type in the word dog. It's a string. It's not supposed to work. So, now me, I would actually make my students put something in there like, hey, that's not a number. Please enter a number, whole number, or even just an int, whatever. So the fact that errors in testing come up as 20 percent of that 1 point. So out of 1.0, they're only getting 0.2 of it. Seems like a teaching issue to me. Okay. So when you review the chief reader report, that's when you then come back and you take a look and you say to yourself, okay, where are the students doing good and where are the students struggling? And what can we do to make it all better? Okay. So what I want to do is just give you like 2 minutes here, and I want you to review the left side of the screen real quick because I don't want to read this. You guys are on a webinar because I'm going to speak and talk to you, engage you. But yeah, I just want you to take a look, take a minute. These are the 5 main points that I pull out. Okay, and then I'm just going to quickly talk about each one because as we go through this, we're just going to keep on building on this. And once again, notice my example was a temperature analysis program. It wasn't recreating doom. Okay, so we got to keep the students focused. All right, so when you actually go through the chief reader reports, the first kind of mistake that the students make that we need to clear up is purpose and function. All right. And really, we put it there pretty blatantly. The purpose is why you built it. Okay. And the function is what it does. Okay. How does it work? All right. So, like, if you're designing an app and you're trying to take leftover food and have restaurants turn it into dinners that students who get free or reduced lunch can pick up after school, you know, the purpose of why you built it was to feed students who might suffer from hunger scarcity, right? Now, what's the function? Well, it might look like a Google map and, there might be pins on it and students might click on a restaurant and see if they're offering a meal, but purpose and function. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, the list. The list is a big issue. When this create performance task first started way back before 2020, just having a list in the program was good enough. But what they actually do now is the list needs to be integral to the functioning of the program. And let me kind of explain what that means. If I did create a game, and at the beginning of the game, I ask you to type in your name, and your list, which is called names, collects the names. But that's all it does. You just collect the name, you put it in the list, and you never go back to it. It just sits there. It has nothing to do with your program. You will get 0 points for the list on the create performance task. Okay. The list needs to be integral to the functioning of the program. And that's why I keep going back. If I made a temperature analysis program and I have a data set of temperature values in there, well, then if I say something like, hey, I type in 75 degrees, tell me how many temperature values there were below 75 degrees. Well, then it has to sort through the list to pull out the values I want. That's integral to the functioning of the program. So, like, I don't want people to overthink it. Like, that's what we're trying to do here in this program. We need to import a data set if you're doing Python, or if you're going to do it in Scratch, we need to just create a list. And then we need to do something with that list. We got to pull a value out. We got to put values in. If you want to make a registry, like for a wedding registry, where people can check to see if there's a gift on it. If there is, they can pull it out, or the bride can put a gift on there. That's how they want the list to be used. So that's where we talk about, AI can help them write this program, but number one, they need to understand how it works and they need to know how to be able to discuss it. Okay. So that's the list part of this. That's list, procedure, error testing. Those are the big 3. So that's the problem with the list. Now, we have to have a procedure in this, in this program. Now, here's where they kind of drilled the kids on the procedure, and the kids deserved it after they all cheated the first year using AI. All right. The procedure itself has to contain sequence selection and iteration. Okay. The procedure has to contain that. So, like we use Scratch in UTeach's AP CSP course, mostly because like ChatGPT is really bad at block-based programming, so it's actually good to use in your classroom now because it's so good at Python. But anyway, we need to use a make-a block and it needs to pass a parameter through it. That's where the students get confused. They think I'm just going to make up a procedure. So if the procedure that I make up is jump, it goes up on the x-axis and down on the x-axis and just pauses for a fraction of a second. No, man, that's not what they're looking for. It has to be a make-a block that you can shove some sort of parameter in there, some sort of value in there that you can then pass through. So that is the difficulty that students have with the procedure or the function, okay? It's that it has to be able to pass the parameter through it. So, you know, the sequence selection iteration also being under the procedure is why I'll keep getting back to, with our curriculum, we have the students at the end of the Scratch unit develop sorting algorithms. That's what they do. Because the sorting algorithm is going to have to incorporate the list. There's going to have to be some sort of repeat in there, right? Because they have to go through the list multiple times to check it. And College Board's big secret when you go through their reader training is if they have selection and if they have iteration and it works, they automatically get sequence. Okay. So that's why I always keep going back. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like a layup, it's a home run. If you can just make a list and then have that procedure include, I want to check this temperature value, and that's the value you pass through the procedure. That's the parameter. That's the key to the whole thing. Okay. So the issue we run in with this is twofold. The first part is they don't pass the parameter through the procedure. That's a common mistake students make. And then the other common mistake is the sequence selection and iteration is not under the procedure. It's actually just somewhere else in the actual algorithm. And that's not what College Board is looking for. Okay, so that is the big thing. All right, number 4, test, test, test again. All right, I don't repeat myself, except if I have to a million times, like with the samples, but no, I told you the test cases. I recommend that your students in the video show 3 things happening. And the reason why the video is important is because when we get to our written response review, I'm going to tell you, College Board doesn't require it, but I train all my teachers the same way because it's easier for the reader. And Tanya knows that because she was one of these people that if the video shows what your students are talking about in the written response, the person grading it sees the consistency, goes through it quicker, and is more commonly is more adept to giving your student the point if it's borderline. Okay. So like I said, if I'm doing that temperature analysis program and in the video I'm putting in 75.3 degrees and the word dog, well then in the written response, when I'm talking about test cases, I'm going to say I put in 75.3 degrees and the word dog. And that consistency will make it so much better for your students. All right. Now, College Board only requires the video to show the program doing 2 things. All right. I say 3 here just because I have high expectations, but forget high expectations. We don't need high expectations. We want our students to get all the points. And then, yeah, they even said that it's okay that it can be at working and not working. So yeah, dog, it doesn't work. That can be shown. And that's the second thing the program shows. All right. And like here, the video, okay, the video should be that guided tour of your program. It's what you're gonna talk about in that written response. Okay. And just remember, and I'm gonna get to this in a minute. The program has to contain new functionality. Okay. So the way I teach my teachers how to do it is we show them at the end of Unit 3 how to write algorithms that use sequence selection and iteration and the list to sort through things. Now, they couldn't just take those algorithms and then use it for their create performance test. But the trick is they just take those algorithms and they stick it under a make-a block and turn it into a procedure. And that's the new functionality that now makes it okay. That's what they're using on their create task. So when you say, well, can they use a previous work that they used in the classroom? Yeah, but here's the giant if they add new functionality to it. All right. So that's my example, man. Like, they have some sort of sorting program that they wrote, but they didn't use a procedure in that sorting program. Well, then great. Now it's time to do your create performance task. You're going to make up a procedure called, average temperature value. And then you're going to pass whatever or actually maybe compare it to a value. And you're going to put that in there. So that's what I want you guys to think about as we're going forward. Okay. Have I done any assignments where like my students might already have these fundamentals built into the program where we can just go back to it and I can tell them now build on it? Because that's totally cool. All right. And I don't, if you were in my workshop at CSTA in Cleveland this summer, then you'll know College Board crashed my session. They were there, the create performance task people. And afterwards, they were totally cool. And I actually liked it. They confirmed everything I was saying here. It was totally factual and kosher. So I was very excited about that. All right. Now let's talk about scoring. Okay, let's go inside the numbers. Remember when I used to watch football on Saturdays, and I would love to know the numbers, the numbers. All right, here we go. So let's understand the AP scoring, but before we can actually do the create performance task, why do we focus and care so much about the create performance task? It's only 30% of their grade. Well, the reason why we care about it is because they can't get a 0 on this, right? Like they can't just not get anything for the create performance task. All right. That can't happen. Okay. So the multiple choice part, now that's worth 70%. Actually, I will do a multiple choice actual review and I'll invite all you guys to it and I'll put it out there. I don't do that to the second half of the school year usually, but the create performance task, 30%. Well, here's why. Okay. To pass the exam, if you get a 3 or higher, all right, on the create performance task. Okay. So now remember, to pass the exam, you need to get a 3, 4, or 5. So that means to get a 3, 4, or 5, you need to typically get 40 to 50 out of the 100 total points. So let me show you what that breaks down to, because when you're talking about the create performance task, 3 out of 6, okay? I always like to say your students can get 3 out of 6 on this just by using AI to help them write the program, okay? I kind of feel like College Board has kind of done that intentionally, right? It used to be like kids got zeros, nobody wants to get zeros, but they made it where like you can get that 3, but man, to get that 4 is a huge, huge challenge. That's like your not digital divide, but that's your wall between the kids who are doing the work and the kids who are kind of doing the work. It's the 3 to the 4. So now look, if you get a 3 out of 6, okay? So that means you earn 15 points out of the create performance task, okay? So that means for the rest of the exam to get that 3, you're going to have to get 40 points. Well, 25 points from the multiple choice section. So then that means at the very bare minimum, you got to get 25 out of 70, but that's not exactly right because these aren't exact numbers. The borderline kind of shifts slightly based on the averages the kids get each year. So that means you can't just live at the 25. So to be safe, if you get a 3 out of 6, your students have to get at least 30 right out of 70 on the multiple choice to pass. That's hard. That's very hard. Okay. So that's why I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like I said earlier, on the multiple choice, they only have 90 seconds to answer each one of those questions. With only 90 seconds, you could barely read the question. Okay. So what I do here is kind of break it down further, okay, to show you just by getting them a 4 instead of a 3 on the create performance task can bring that borderline multiple choice needed to pass all the way down just to 20-30 range, okay? So like you can see how you can make it so much, the chance of them passing can increase. All right. So this is just a good chart to keep in mind. And I always like to share this with my students. All right. Because I always like to say to them, like, if you give this create performance task your all right. And listen, when I say you give it your all, I don't mean getting it into the digital portfolio. That's not even the first hurdle. That's like running up to the first hurdle. The hurdling part of it is the written response they got to do on exam day, right? That's the hurdle. And we're going to talk at the end of how we're going to help them get over that hurdle. But I like to just show them, hey, look, if you can get a 3 out of 6, you're still going to have to get like 30 questions right on the multiple choice. But hey, if you work a little harder here and we can do better on the create performance task, you bring this number down. Okay. So, like I just said, you don't need to be perfect to pass. Okay. We just got to figure out how to get them all the points necessary to earn that 3. Okay. So, let's get into how we do things. Okay. Now, what I'm about to show you guys is the UTeach Create Task Pacing Guide. I'm going to show you how, using our materials, you can facilitate this over 18 to 21 50-minute class periods. Now, for me to tell you when to do the create performance task, that's going to be different for everybody. Okay. I can tell you when not to do the create performance task. That might be easier for me. The reason it's hard for me to tell you when to do it is because you guys are teaching block schedules. Some of you are not. Some of you are teaching thirds of the year. Some of you teaching 9 weeks. It's all messed up. I mean, I have hundreds of teachers I work with. I hear everything. All right. So I'll tell you this. Do the create performance task when the coding is freshest in their mind. So in the UTeach curriculum, we do Scratch for Unit 2 and 3. We then do a Python boot camp after that. And then right after the Python boot camp, I tell my teachers, do the create performance task. We do that for 2 reasons. Number one, the students will select Scratch or Python to do it because those are the 2 programming languages we teach them. So we're giving them 2 programming languages to choose from. All right. So we like to do it that way. Okay. Yeah, that's how we roll. All right. So I tell my teachers that's when the coding's the freshest. Do not do it at the end of the year, man. Like don't do this as I'm going to have them do this and then take the multiple choice. I did that my first year teaching the exam. The kids were so mad at me. They're like, anything else you want to throw into this week? And I taught in Brooklyn, like in the kids in the Reddit project. So I cleaned it up a little bit. But anyway, like, yeah, you don't want to save this to the end of the year, guys. Okay. Yeah, when I say Scratch, Wayne, I'm just talking about any block-based programming that we use Scratch. If there's a free online version of Scratch, Blockly, Snap, all the same thing. All right. And yeah, if you hopped on just a couple minutes late, we're going to talk about AI. Okay, where I'm going to show you how to use AI to co-develop a program with your students. I'm going to tell you how they're supposed to cite it so they don't get in trouble. But I will say this once again, you're the teacher. Okay. So like I tell my teachers this all the time. If you don't want your students to do it in any other language except Snap or Scratch, well, then that's fine. You have to Scratch, do the create performance test with them. Because I mean, unless you're going to get litigious parents who like are going to reach out to lawyers or are lawyers and are going to spend their Saturday afternoon reading the CED that College Board puts out there, and then literally comes and reaches out to you and says, "Hey, my kid can use any programming language you want." Well, then you say, "Fine, you litigious parent can have your litigious kid use whatever language they want." But yeah, man, ChatGPT is not good at block-based programming. All it can possibly tell them is drag over this block, drag over this block, drag over this block. And you know what that means they're doing? They're doing the program. So anyway, yeah, that's what I meant, Wayne. Thank you for holding me up there and asking me that question. Okay. So yeah, we're going to show you the create task pacing guide. I'm sharing all of this with you in PDF form. I'll show you when we wrap up right down here. You'll find everything we did today. You'll also be able to access the UTeach sample materials. But I will say this. If you're in the state of Texas and you really like the way that this create task is laid out, because right now you're experiencing my workshop the way your students would experience these assignments. And you're about to see that we actually have Scratch embedded in our platform. We have Python built into our platform, and we have code playback. So you can even check, it doesn't matter, they can use AI, but you can watch your kids coding. So yeah, if you like the way our program works, you can, reach out to me, and TEA will totally pay for you to get access to our stuff this year. And even if you're using code.org or CodeHS or one of my other frenemies out there, I'm totally cool. You can just use us for the create task. So let's dig into this pacing guide. All righty. So first, I want to just show you what is in here and then explain how we roll through it. Okay, we have 7 assignments. Create task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Now, we have this laid out for the teacher who has never done this before. Okay, we lay it out as if you've never done this. It doesn't matter if you're a first year teacher, you can always have more help with this. Okay. Now, we walk the students through CT1, CT2, and CT3. Through these 3 assignments, we tell them everything they need to know about the exam, and I'm going to walk you through them. They know about the rubric, they know your role, they know their role, they know that you can't help them. They know they can use AI. You're going to show them how to use AI. And then when they're done, when you're done with 3, they do CT4, 5, and 6 all on their own. We have 2 tracks for this in our curriculum. We have a Scratch version and a Python version. They choose which one they want to do, and they literally do everything they need to do and get it into the digital portfolio. These assignments walk them through all of those steps. And then a week before the exam or 2 weeks before the actual exam in May, you'll come back to assignment CT7. And you're really not going to come back to it then. I'm going to tell you why. Well, no, you'll come back to it then. All right. So I'm going to show you how we roll through 1, 2, and 3 with our students. I'm then going to show you how we use AI correctly. When I tell you if you'd like to get a certificate for 5 CPE hours, okay, you have to do assignments 4, 5, and 6 on your own this week. Okay, that's what I mean. And I'll show you that at the end of the workshop. Okay, so that is my blurb that I wrote up here. It's telling you that we're going to do 1, 2, 3 with the students. When they start 4, they go to independent work time. Now, let me also tell you why this is laid out this way. College Board's rule is they have to get class time, okay? Class time for it, which means you can't tell them to do this at home over a break, and you can't tell them to do it at home. It has to be in class time. But in class time could mean in class field trip. So, I mean, I taught in Brooklyn, so it's easy. There's, you can't spit and hit a tech company. But I used to take my students to Microsoft's headquarters in Manhattan, and we would do like 4 hours in their headquarters. And that's when the students would do CT 4, 5, and 6. They get to eat all the free food at their obnoxious kitchens for the staffs. And, reach out to your local community. See if somebody wants to invite your class in. And, they love it. They take pictures with the kids love it. So, you can have fun with this. You can kind of talk to your students and say, hey, do you guys really want to do this in 50-minute chunks? Or, do you guys maybe want to see if I can organize it so you come in for first, second, and third period? But just remember, it's got to be in class time, something that's considered in class time. All right. So that's our pacing guide. Now let's dig in to CT1, because CT1 is going to be long, okay, with your students. It's actually a double assignment. It's 2 50-minute assignments. And the reason is that we know how boring the CED is. Trust me, I've studied it like a religion. So what we've done is we've pulled out all the important parts of the CED, and we have put it right here into this assignment. And you can see in this assignment, we have 4 pages. We start off and we talk about the digital portfolio, okay? It is important that you get yourself into the AP classroom, all right? Because once you get into the AP classroom, that's how your students also have access to the AP digital portfolio and stuff, okay? So we want to get in there, okay? Then you're going to talk about the create performance task requirements and guidelines, okay? Everyone should be doing these 2 things. Now, the thing that makes UTeach a little different is we then have this assignment, which is the task definition and code examples. And then we have a planning phase that we ask our students to do. Now, the reason we have our students do all of this is because there is nothing worse than telling your students, here's 11 hours or 9 hours, or whatever it is, and go do the create task. And then you ask them after 7 hours, how you guys doing? And they're like, duh, haven't started, haven't done anything. Our platform lets you track what the students are doing as they're doing it. College Board doesn't let you tell them and give them feedback on their projects, that's a no-no. But you're allowed to give class announcements, general class announcements. So like using our platform, you could just go in, look at their Python projects or their Scratch projects, see everyone's using the wrong procedure because they're not passing a parameter through it. And then instead of saying, Joey, you're doing it wrong, you can say at the beginning of class, hey, everybody, I want you to remember, we talked about what was the proper procedure you had to use in this program, the make a block from scratch. And what we're able to do at UTeach is say, go back to the CT1 assignment and go look at your definitions and go look at what it looks like and make sure you're using the right thing. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about here. So we're not going to do a deep dive into it. Here's the digital portfolio guide. Okay, you can review this with your students. Talks about how they're going to get in here. Okay, it talks about, just basically this is where the create performance task gets uploaded to. All right, now the nitty gritty, the fun part. Okay, we're going to actually start here. We're going to collapse down the screen. So here's where you do your deep dive with your students about the create performance task. And I'm going to do it with you right now. So you guys are about to do a create performance task. And before you guys get started, I want you to notice one thing. I want you guys to take a look at me as the teacher. Please note that once your teacher has assigned this performance task as one of this, you are expected to complete the task without assistance from anyone except for your partner, and then only when developing the program code. So you get it out there right away. I can't help you. Okay, if you ask me what is the matter with my program, I'm gonna say I can't help you. All right, so that's the first thing. Teacher, exit stage left. Okay, partner. College Board confirmed this. When they say partner, AI is also a partner. So if they're using ChatGPT, that's their partner. Okay, Joey, Susie, ChatGPT, they're all a partner. Okay, so anywhere in the CED where it says a student has to write a student-developed procedure that they could collaborate on with another student, that means AI as well. All right, so the next thing we tell them is the video and the personalized project reference that you submit for this must be done all by yourself. All right, so we go down to general requirements and we hit home one more time. You're going to get 9 hours of class time starting with assignment CT4 to roll through this and do everything you need to do to get it in the digital portfolio. Now, there's 3 parts of this project. The first one is you have to write a program. I want you to look here on the left side. We see the little stick figures from the game of life. Notice we have 2 little stick figures from the game of life here that is telling your students they can collaborate with another person to do the code. So yes, ChatGPT, the students can use ChatGPT to write their programs. And let me just tell you a quick background story on this. So I'm in a room. There's like 50 people from College Board. There's people from the tech industry. And basically they're talking about should they allow students to use AI on the AP exams. And I literally was like, there's no way College Board's going to go for this. And College Board totally just sat there and as soon as industry said, the skill we're looking for is not can students write code, it's can they read code and can they debug it? And then that's the skill we're looking for the next 10 years. College Board was like, fine, they can write their program using ChatGPT. But that's when the college professors stepped up. These are the Jeff Grays of the world, the Mark Emerys who work and want to keep the integrity of the exam. They said, fine, they can use ChatGPT to write the program, but we're never going to have what happened that one year where all the kids used it to answer the questions. And that's when Jeff Gray, the other people said, we're going to make these questions so hard, these written response questions, that unless they actually go back and study the code that ChatGPT wrote for them and mess it up and then have to debug it and try different test cases, if they don't do that iterative step, well, then they're not going to pass the exam anyway. And you know what? They nailed it. So that's why they can use AI on the exam, because you could tell your students exactly what I just told you, that they'll see some sample written response questions because we have them in our module here. You're not going to be able to fudge your way through answering them. The best path you're going to have is You're going to come up with answers, run them through ChatGPT before the exam, and have ChatGPT iterate them with you so that they earn the point on the exam day. And by the time your student's done that, well, then you know what, man? They're developing the skill that industry wants going forward, which is they can read their code, they can debug their code, and they can get a 6 out of 6 on it on the exam. So that's why they can use ChatGPT. Okay. They need the video that makes that shows the program running the 2 test cases. Okay. And then they need to upload their code segments to the personalized project reference sheet. Notice these 2 bullet points only have 1 stick figure from the game of life. So they have to do that on their own. Okay. College Board realizes that if students work together and make a code, then yeah, their video is probably going to be similar. They get it. All right. But their written responses aren't going to be the same because they're supposed to do that on their own. All right. Now, really big important thing to put next to the personalized project reference sheet. The code segments that your students cut and paste into the PPR cannot have any comments on it whatsoever. Please put a giant star next to that, a bullet point. If you're not really listening to me and you're watching football, Mazel tov, God bless you. I wish I was doing it too. But stop right now, listen to me, put a star next to this. Because here's what happens. We always teach our students that good code has comments in it, right? We want them to tell us what each section is doing. College Board does not want any code comments on any of the pictures that they take, that they upload into the digital portfolio for their personalized project reference. The project reference sheet will be printed out on testing day by your testing coordinator at your school. They will then hand it out to your students. If there's any code comments on it, College Board considers that cheating. And here's the part that stinks, and this is why I'm telling you. At that point, if there's any code comments on it, and it could be something as simple as code comment, the name of my program is temperature analysis program. They're going to rip up the PPR and the student will not be allowed to do the written response and they will get a 0 for the create task. Okay. It is so unfair at that point to have that happen to your students. And this was a very big thing that happened in the first year. And that's why I'm hitting home with it, because College Board didn't tell us that. And I didn't tell my teachers that. And then my teachers, some of them, because they're good teachers and they know that there should be comments and code, got nailed for this. And that's not the way it should be. So that is what they get 9 hours of class time to do. Develop a program, make sure it works, make a video of the program running, take pictures of the code, upload it to the PPR, and then they will also make a PDF of their entire project code, either by taking screenshots and code snippets or exporting it as a doc. Now, that is what is required of them. So let's break it down even more. What does the program have to have? Okay, I sarcastically started this off by saying the program should not be The Legend of Zelda, Mario Kart. It shouldn't even be Doom. Man, it shouldn't even be Wolfenstein 3D, if you're as old as I am. All right. What this should be is some sort of program that is going to sort through a data set. That's what College Board wants. Okay. At the very basic, the program has to contain the following. All right. So let me make this just a little bit smaller here. Okay. The very first thing it needs to do, it has to have input. Any program has to have input. So you got to put something into your program, numbers, pictures, words, whatever it is. And then you have to use at least one list. Okay. Notice the important box right here. This is what I started talking about in the very beginning. The data abstraction must make the program easier to develop or easier to maintain. All right. So it's got to be integral to the functioning of the program. Okay. It's got to have a procedure. That procedure has to pass the parameter right over here. Has to pass a parameter. As if that wasn't challenging enough for your students, the algorithm has to include sequence selection for the procedure part. So that's what makes it tricky. Okay. The procedure has to contain sequence selection and iteration, not the other part. So, like I keep going back to Scratch or Snap or Blockly. Um, if they're doing a make a block, the repeat block and the if statement all has to be under the make a block, not under just the normal algorithm where the green flag is checked. Okay. So there it is. I already talked about it earlier when we did the chief reader report. Pass the parameter through that procedure and make sure you know that procedure has sequence selection and iteration. Okay. The test cases are going to be the calls to the procedure. Hey, those test cases, the error test cases that you have to talk about in the written response part, that is going to be the calls to that procedure. 75.3 degrees, my temperature analysis program works perfectly. I type in the word dog, it doesn't do anything. That's how my program is supposed to work. All right. And then you have to show them the output. So that's why the video is so important. You have to show the input, show the program working, show another input, show the program not working. Okay. That's what you have to do in the allotted time, 59 seconds. That's what your screen recording has to be. And then I want you to then talk about those things in the written response. Because here's the other big AP reader secret. They rarely look at the student code. That's right, everyone. The truth is out there. You have to grade 176,000 of these. The only reason we ask the students to upload a PDF of their entire program code is in case everything else fails. Normally, all you do is watch that video. All right. Thank you, Tanya. Tanya, it's great to have you. I feel like I'm preaching and you're my choir. But no, it is very true, man. All it is that it's back up, back up, back up. We watch the video and then we look at the written response. And based on the written response and based on the video, we give them the points. The only time we would really go to that code is if the like the code snippets weren't formatted correctly, or it was so small we couldn't see it. No, the video does not show the code. The video shows the program running. Good question, Amy. Okay, so like I always say, if it's a Scratch program, should the code PDF contain their comments? Charnel, yes, I put it, because we teach them to put it in there, but you might not want to do that, because if all they're going to do is take those pictures and then upload it to the PPR, right? So what I tell my student Charnel to do for this one is just leave the comments out, man. Just leave the comments out. If you wanted to, Charnel's a UTeach teacher, you could duplicate the assignment and then just have them submit one to you with comments, like a different assignment. But yeah, let's just keep comments totally out of this one. Okay. I mean, it's just the worst feeling when it's kind of your fault that the students don't get the opportunity to even take it. All right. Good, guys. Keep the questions coming, please. These are great questions. All right. So yeah, getting back, the video is going to show the program running. So if it's a Scratch program, you literally maximize the Scratch screen and then just do a screen recording of the sprites doing their thing. If it's a temperature analysis program, it'll show me typing in 75.3 and it'll show the program saying something like, thank you for putting in that value. What do you like to do next? And then next I would type in like maybe restart program and then put in dog. And then the program would either say dog is not a temperature value, try again, or it would just not work. That's what the video should show. Okay. And like that's why College Board needs to do a better job. I agree with you guys. Like, what is it supposed to show? All right. So now the video, look at that segue. All right. Yeah, suspected plagiarism. So, and we'll get into plagiarism in a minute. Why kids actually get nailed for plagiarism is because they don't say they used ChatGPT. All right, video. Video, there's not much to know about. The students nail this, so we'll go over it pretty quickly here. All right. I told you input. I showed you what the video was supposed to be showing. Now, here's a couple of things. Do not have the students have any distinguishing characteristics about themselves in the video. I know I told you 176,000 kids take it and 700 people grade it. you'd be shocked how many people your students' work will pop in front of you. If you're teaching like 50 kids, you'll be like, oh my God, like that's Joey's work. Like you'll just know it because you'll see the program. So yeah, don't let your students write the real school name. Don't let them write like Joey, Joey, whatever, on there. And then the other thing is there's no voice narration allowed. There's no audio for the people reading it to listen to. And the reason for that is that would give an advantage to English speakers. So we want to kind of keep it level for people of all languages and backgrounds. So no voice narration. Now, you don't have to worry about these three things on the bottom because closed captioning is wonderful, Luna. Yes, that is perfect. And your students feel free to actually do subtitles. That's totally fine if they want to do something like that, closed captionings. Don't worry about these three things. The digital portfolio will not accept the video if it is not one of these formats, if it's bigger than 30 megabytes, and if it's more than a minute, it won't let them accept it. Okay, so that's the video part of this. And remember, the video, the kids are getting 7.7 out of the 1 point. So they got this. All right, now the PPR, this is what I was talking about. If you use our stuff over the course of assignments 4, 5, and 6, we show them how to do everything and upload it to the digital portfolio. Okay, now what do they need to put in the PPR? They're going to take a picture of the procedure, and they're going to take a picture of where that procedure is being called in the program. They are going to do the same thing for the list. They're going to take a picture of the list and then where the list is being used in the program. That is it. That is the 4 pictures that they are uploading. Okay. So I'll just use Scratch as an example, and then we'll switch to Python in a minute when we actually go into the next assignment. But yeah, so here for the procedure, I would first take a picture of the actual makeup block with all the sequence and selection and the iteration underneath that makeup block, and I paste that here. Here's where I would just paste the algorithm where it says calling this procedure or, where it's getting called. And then same thing, here is where you would take a picture of the list with everything that's in it. And here's where you would show how the list is being used in the program, the actual algorithm. Right, so that's the program, okay? That's the requirements. That's what your students need to do. So now the next thing we want to talk to our students about is how do we score this thing? Okay. So one thing you need to understand about scoring this exam is that it is a zero-sum games, man. It is all or nothing. You either get the point or you don't get the point. There is no partial credit. And the only way you get the point is to do everything. Not some of it, everything. So let's look at the first row here. These are the 6 points that we talk about. Okay, so the first row, the video. Does the video show the input, the output, and the program functioning properly? Okay, if it shows all 3 of those things, you award the point. If it does not show those things, we do not award the point. So if you showed input, you showed the program working, but somehow you didn't show the end of it, you didn't show the output, you get nothing. It's not like you get 2/3 of a point, you get 0. Okay. Often students' first name appears on the screen in the upper right corner as part of the district's network protocol, move, screen camera. All right. All right, Randall, thanks for telling me that. I guess I'm being a little over the top, worried, a worry bug here. Yeah, just don't worry about it. Try to keep the school name might be in there too. Do the best you can. As a reader, we were not instructed to penalize students for that. Okay, thank you, Tanya. Perfect. All righty, so let's keep going here. All right, so just to clear up in case you're watching the video, no, they will not be penalized for students if they do have their name in the top left corner if they're using a recording tool. So thank you, Tanya, very much. Tanya, 3 more answers and you get a free mug. All right, so let's keep working here. So the program code, we told you it's got to have a list, a procedure, calls to that procedure, and it's got to include selection and iteration. Okay. So that's everything the program has to have. Now, kids actually do good on that. Okay. Like it's got to have a procedure. Now, if they don't use it properly, um, you know, they still get the point, but this is also one of the strong points. Okay. Third point, function and purpose. This is why I started off by talking about function and purpose. This should be a layup, all right? Even in the scandaled, betting, rigged NBA, this should still be a layup. Function and purpose, okay? Who is the program designed to help? How does the program work? That's the difference, all right? And then we get into the hard part, and it's supposed to be hard. Like I said, I feel like College Board intentionally wants the kids to kind of get like those 3 points because we don't want them to kind of check out. But let's just take a look at what needs to happen next. Okay. So this is the algorithm development. Then we do the errors and testings. And then we talk about the procedure. All right. So when we get in, sorry about that. This is the part. Oops. That we need to start talking about our infinite loops. We need to talk about all our other things. All right. So it says identifies the number of times the body of the iteration statement will execute and describe a condition or error that would cause an infinite loop. Or if no such condition or error exists, explain how the loop can be modified to cause an infinite loop. So this part right here is the part I want you guys to focus on, okay? This is, and then many years ago, if a student used to write, well, we're going to use a list to manage the complexity of the program. As a reader, you would give them the point. No. So now basically what the student needs to do is say, I'm using a list. And the reason I'm using a list is because this is what it makes the code do easier, right? But then they have to go one step further and say, if I didn't use a loop or if I didn't use a list, here is how I would have to write the program differently, or I'd have to do the same step like 9 times over and over again. Okay. This is why the kids struggle. Okay. They know they use the list. They even know that the list is integral to the program working, but then they can't actually explain like how this would have to be written differently. So it's challenging and it's designed to be challenging, okay? But then you get down to the next row and this is that errors and test call one. This should not be 0.20 out of 1.0 points. That's crazy to me. 75.3 degrees, cat, dog, whatever, in that temperature analysis program, and they get the point, right? And then the very end here, this is the procedure, okay? And this one, it says, explains in detailed steps an algorithm that uses is equal to count the number of elements in the list that are equal to a certain value. So this is the procedure, okay? They're going to be somewhere in here. They're going to be asked a question about, does their procedure contain sequence selection and iteration? All right, what would happen if it didn't contain that? So all of these things go into that. And then this is just College Board's definitions for what each one of those things means. So that's the scoring guideline. Okay. So you could see like we're still rolling here. Okay. We haven't even gotten halfway through the assignment. Now, just kidding. All right. So now the next one here. What we do at UTeach is, and we can collapse down the left side of the screen here. We know students can't ask us questions or can't ask the teacher questions. So I just want to take a minute here, scroll through this. This is what we give our students so that when they say to us, because remember, during this, the students are going to have a lot of anxiety. There will be rampant brain farts going all over your classroom, okay? Students will forget the most basic stuff that you taught them. They need reminders. And guess what you can't do? Give them reminders. So we always say, I always would say to my students, go back to the CT1 assignment that gives you the examples and definitions. So when they would say to me, I forgot, what does input mean? I'd say, go look at input in this assignment. Here's what it looks like for Scratch. Here's what it looks like in Python. And then the student says, oh, yeah, that's right. I was just really nervous. That way you don't get in trouble. You didn't help the students. This assignment helped out the students. So if you're not one of my licensed teachers out there, you're not going to have access to the curriculum, just print out this PDF. You'll have access to this, print it out, give it to your students. Be like, if you have questions during it, use this resource to answer your question. All right. Because this is like one of those situations where, like, if it was like, hey, ChatGPT, like, how do I use Scratch? What does input look like in Scratch? Like, no, it'd be much easier just to use this type of document. And we do this for everything. What data abstraction should look like. Okay. We show them right over here. Remember, we're looking for this type of Scratch procedure that's going to call an argument, right? We want a function that's going to call an argument that has a parameter. Okay, remember, this is a line of code. This is not what we want to see, but man, this is what we want to see. All right, this is sequence selection and iteration here. Here's an algorithm. We have our repeat block. We have an if statement in there. And I told you, if you have these two, you get the first one automatic. All right, and then what are the forms of selection? So yeah, so this is a great help out your students document. All right, and the very, very last page here. We have the students just start brainstorming some ideas, okay? But don't worry, we have a whole planning document that they're gonna do. Alrighty, so now, at this point, here's where it doesn't matter if you're one of my teachers or not. This is all new stuff. So basically, I had to go back to the drawing board here, okay? A couple of years ago, once they said that the kids can use AI to do the assignment, well, we better start teaching kids about the proper use of AI. Not only the proper use of AI, but also AI needs to know what the kid is looking for. Okay, so let's dive right in here. So first off, there is no rumor. It's 100% factual. And it's funny because when I asked ChatGPT, hey, write me something about how students can use ChatGPT on the AP CSP Create Performance Task, ChatGPT said they're not allowed to use it. And I was like, actually, can you go look at page like 210 of the CED where it talks about AI use? And then it said, didn't even say my bad. It was just like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, here's how they can use it. So anyway, they can use AI as much as they want in that developmental phase. You hope they use it as a give or take. Hey, I want to write this program. ChatGPT writes it. Hey, I'm a beginner programmer. Can you write it in Python for somebody who does this on a 7th grade level? Right? But, it doesn't matter. But like I keep saying, they need to be in control of this. If they say, write me a program that is a temperature analysis program and then cut and paste it in and put it in the PPR and answer the questions that we have in our course, they're not going to get more, if they're lucky, than 3 out of 6 on the create task. If they're lucky. I just showed you. You'll see the questions they have to answer in a little while. Okay? So your AI power-ups. Okay? I like AI helping us pick up some ideas. Okay? Help the coding. Help debug it. That's fine. Let AI write the code. But you're going to realize that they need to let everyone know AI is working it. It's when they don't, that's when plagiarism happens. Okay. Use AI as a sounding board. Does this sound like a good idea? All right. And then the golden rule, AI generated code is not a shortcut. You got to study the heck out of that code and understand it and be able to discuss it intelligently. All righty. So you know when you're supposed to use it and when you are not supposed to use it. I've talked to you about that. More importantly, how to acknowledge it. Your students need to be transparent about this. They need to stick this, in their written response question, somewhere in where they're entering into the digital portfolio. Here's a great example statement. Okay. I leverage a generative AI tool to help design the initial structure for my program's main loop and to troubleshoot a difficult conditional statement. I reviewed, modified, and integrated all of this AI assisted code to ensure it aligned with my project's purpose. And then I completely understood its function for the AP exam. It's perfect. Okay. Let them know you're using it. Okay. All right. So let's kind of do this. Okay. If you want to follow along with me, you can. You don't have to. All right. And we at the University of Texas are actually Microsoft Copilot people. That is just ChatGPT in a shiny box. All right. But that's what we're kind of voluntold to, to kind of do, to use for these. All right. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to prompt our way to a create performance task. All right. So I like to say, we're going to ask ChatGPT to design us a program. It's got to have the following parameters involved in it. Okay. So, hey, ChatGPT, can you make me an AP create performance task? Make sure, remember that it has input, output, that it has a procedure that passes a parameter. Let's use Python as the programming language. It also has to have a list that's integral to the functioning of the program. All right, so it comes back with some sort of mood tracker and motivator thing. Starts giving me all this code. All right. And then it starts to give me some ideas. Well, look at that for a written response. All right. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking a look at the code. All right, it looks pretty good. Can you redo this so it looks like it was done by like an 8th or 9th grader? And make the code look that way too, because we're beginning coding students. Thank God we can still talk to ChatGPT 4 like people. If you've tried ChatGPT 5, it's built for agents. You need to sound like a computer to make it work. But 4, you can sound like a normal person still. Alrighty, so it's going to give me some sort of program here. I can just copy the whole program out of there. And now what we can do is we can actually paste that into the next page of our assignment. Now, what I wanted to do was, here's a list, okay, of different types of projects your students can do that are the most likely to get 6 out of 6 on the rubric. So, a number guessing game, a quiz game. My favorites are these: a to-do list, a contact book, or a temperature converter program. Man, the contact book is the best because you can like just have someone's name, address, phone number, all these different things. And then you could ask it to sort by one or go through and sort and look for anyone who starts with the letter M. So I really like that one as well. Alarm clock, voting systems. Okay. And then here we talk about tips. Okay. User types a number, program decides this. So I just wanted you guys to see those are the type of programs we're really looking for students to develop. It's not, basket apple catching game or something like that. All right, so now, hey, just to show you guys real quickly, this is how you code in our course. This is our Python IDE. If you want to, you can actually paste the code in that we just had in that other assignment. Let me delete out the print statement that was already up here that kind of defaulted in here. All right, and then we can come down here on the left side of the screen and hit run code. And then it runs in our terminal window. How do you feel today? I'm happy. That's awesome. Keep smiling. Your mood history is happy. All right, cool. So what I want you to do is just take a minute and I want you to do some sort of code in ChatGPT and then copy it into this Python IDE. And then what I want you to do is just add something to it. Okay, so like, for example, I'm going to come to the bottom here where it says run the program. All right. Maybe before we run it, maybe I just want to put a print in there. Maybe I say, I don't know, the end. Okay, just something. And the reason I'm doing that is because I wanted to put an error in the program, right, on purpose, and then say, well, wait a second, maybe I'm supposed to put something like that there, and then try, and then have another error. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to show you in 1 second. All right, so take a minute, just cut and paste something into your Python IDE. So I'm not sure if your coding platform does this or not, but ours does. So you could do this on your project as well, but you'll see up here, there's a tab. That's the actual Py file that we're writing here in Python. But if you right click on that, we have a feature called code playback. And literally you can hit play and you could watch your students code. You could see them typing code. You could see when they cut and pasted. And we like to show our students this the very beginning of coding, and they begrudgingly actually do the coding we ask them to do. So, this is a feature that's built into our platform, code playback. You can watch your students coding to see if what they did is what they did. And these plagiarism checkers that we have built into our program. Create test definition of code examples. Thanks. All right. Thank you, Tanya, again for answering that. So like, here's an example. Okay. Let's just say I want to use AI to help the students create an alarm clock program. Okay. Well, it's great that you're going to create an alarm clock program, but you also need to understand how the alarm clock program works. And that's where AI can come in and be very helpful. So what I like to do a lot of times is actually copy and paste my entire code into ChatGPT and ask it, tell me what the list is in this project. Tell me what the function is. Tell me what the purpose, the procedures are in there, and let it pull out all the information and make up a study guide for the student to study. All right. Like even if the student didn't make the code, it doesn't matter if they go back and study the code. That's the most important thing. Okay. And so that's what we're doing in this assignment. We're kind of showing our students, we know you're going to brainstorm with AI. So let's show you a way of doing it that's ethical, that can get you the best result, but that you still feel at the end some sort of ownership that this project is yours. Okay. So now, assignment CT2 and CT3, okay, we're going to skip 2 and 3. 2 is the review sample one. It's in there. It has all the review samples that College Board has. It has all the review samples we provide. I mean, review samples are great. They could be a double-edged sword. Students can copy the review sample, which defeats the purpose. But regardless, we like to review the samples with our students because there's good examples and bad examples. And more importantly, we want them to see those bad examples so they don't make the same mistakes that those students made. All right. And then we have a planning document. This planning document is what's going to allow you to track your students and make sure they're on task. Here they talk about if they're going to work with anybody, what language they're using, purpose, input, output. Because remember, you'll be able to see their programs in Codio behind the scenes while they're typing it. And if you could see that, then you can check against this to see if what they were doing matches up against this. All right. And then we do a collaborative review session where they kind of review their project ideas with a classmate, or it even can be AI if they want to get feedback on, is this a good project? Do you think there's some things I could do differently? Right. And that's the planning document. All right. And then we get to assignment CT4. So now I'm going to just walk us through 4, 5, and 6 from one of these modules. But if you want to get a certificate for 5 hours after you join the workshop, just complete these assignments for 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, and 7, 1 is optional. But if you do 4, 5, and 6, I'll send you a certificate for 5 hours. Okay. And you can choose to do either 4, 5, and 6 for Python or for Scratch. All right, so for what we're doing here, we're just going to jump into Python. So let's look, what does CT4 look like? Because I'm going to come back to this part at the very end. Okay, so it says right away, this is only for students who are going to be writing their create task. We remind them that you're just doing it in one, not two places, okay? You're either doing a Python project or a Scratch, not both, all right? You can collaborate on the code program, but remember what we talked about earlier, okay? There are guidelines for them for completing the task over here. All right, so all of this is in assignment CT4. We review that with them. And then here's where they do their program. This is it right over here. They type their code up here. They can hit run code and they can record their screen right here of their program running. It's that easy. And because this is embedded in the platform in our assignment, you could see it anytime you want. You could just go in and open this up and see what they're doing. You can even right click up here and watch their code playback and see what they were working on. And if they deleted something, you can even tell what mistake they were making. So this is all really important stuff. Okay. So that's assignment CT4. They have days to do this, right? Hours to work on this. And then eventually they'll get done with CT4 and they'll move on to written response practice. Now, the reason we're doing some written response practice here is because right after this, we're going to upload stuff to the digital portfolio. And we just thought at this point, it's important for the students just to be able to answer basic things so that they know what they're putting into the digital portfolio is correct, right? If they don't know what a function is or, a procedure, then how are they going to know what to put in there? So that's what this assignment does, okay? We just talk about what's the definition for each of these and then put in your example from your code. All right. Over here. And it all just goes right into that assignment. Okay. So now, after we do a little written response, now we can upload the stuff to the digital portfolio. And that's where this assignment walks them through that process. And we really do it in like baby steps, like little steps, okay? So you'll see over here, we want to have them open up a document. We show them how to cut and paste all their code in one location. All right, here's our grading thing. Okay, upload your program code to the digital portfolio. You just click over here and this is the guide. Okay, but I will tell you this. When it's time to go to the real digital portfolio, it's not allowed to open up in Codio. It'll come out to this separate tab that you see over here. Okay, so I wanted you guys, oops, sorry about that. So I wanted you guys to be aware of that. And let me see if I can get into my digital portfolio. This was down the other day. CS info next. Let me go to my password. All right. All right, and this is the way we'll be able to get into everything that we need. We have our learning community up there. Okay, get access. So let me click over here. All right, so when you go there, after you're logged in, you can click on Digital Portfolio, and this is where your students are going to be uploading all of their work. Now, I think I might have some samples. I mean, not that I have any real recent ones. Progress. So you'll see as your students upload their work here, they have a legend and all your students populate and it'll let you know whether they have a no draft, if they have a draft submitted, or they marked it as complete. So this is the digital portfolio. So how do your students get their stuff in there? Real easy. We walk them through it step by step. So the first thing we say is indicate if you were able to successfully upload your program code to the digital portfolio. All right. And then it tells you even if you want your students to upload their their PDF to you, you can actually grade it. So they can upload it to the file tree if they want. And then we take it step by step, page by page, part by part. So the next part of this is milestone here. So this is what we do one at a time until they get the entire digital portfolio up and in. Okay, upload the video. Did you do it? Let us know. So you're able, just by looking at this assignment, to track your students' work to see what's going on. Okay. And you'll know when they're done. Okay. And this is what I mean. You're able to track them, make those general class announcements. Finally, it says stop. You have one more milestone to go. Submit it as final. Yeehaw. All right. And that's how the students would upload it. All right. So that takes them through the whole process. Over the course of the module, they'll be able to upload everything correctly. You'll be able to fill them in on all of the tips. Okay. But I told you earlier, uploading it, it's only half the battle. I feel like G.I. Joe if you're old like me. All right. What we have to do after this is over is we kind of have to teach the rest of the course. And then when there's like a few weeks before the exam, we have to come back. And the reason we have to come back is because we have to prepare them to answer very difficult written response questions. And first, I want to open up assignment CT7. And it might take a second to open up. It's a little bigger than the other ones. Okay. So the questions that you'll see here, these questions come from College Board. Okay. These are real questions College Boards have used in the past. And these are the type of questions your students are going to need to be capable of answering. Okay. So, we know there's going to be an algorithm development question. Excuse me. Errors in testing. Okay. The temperature, dog, talk about it. They're going to say, I'm going to put in temperature and here's what should happen and here's what did happen. When I put in dog, here's what happened and here's what should happen. But then we get to the procedure question, okay? And I just stop right there. And it's a pretty intense question. Referring to the program you wrote for the create task shown in the right panel, identify the list that you included in the list section of your PPR. So suppose you are provided with a procedure called this, all right? And then it tells you now it returns this, it's true, if not. And then it says using your list, explain in detailed steps. An algorithm that uses is equal to count the number of times a certain value appears in your list. Your explanation just be detailed enough for someone else to write the program code. That's why the kids all bomb this question. It's right there. They have to write it with enough detail so someone can write the program code. So that's the level up that we're talking about. That's why kids struggle with it. Okay. This came from the 2024 written response. And you'll see over here, we have two sets of questions from 2024 that College Board was nice enough to give us. Programs accept input to achieve their intended functionality. Okay. PPR questions, calls again. Okay. Check if something is true. I mean, this is just all built into it. And then some more written response questions that College Board has shared and put out there. So the purpose of this assignment is you give it to your students the first time and they try to answer the questions. And this is where us modeling AI as a co-pilot, as R2D2, and not just as the answer machine is really powerful. So now what we would do is kind of take whatever we give as our first answer and then iterate it over and over until we get something that we want. So now let's go back to from words to scores. So let me open this up. Oops, my bad. Oops, access denied. Let me get to my other tab. Sorry. See, you guys aren't the only ones who have problems with Codio. All right, so from words to scores, leveraging ChatGPT. So what we want to do here is we want to use ChatGPT in order to kind of improve on what we already did. So I would take my sample response and I would put it into ChatGPT. So I made a procedure. Okay. And I would say to ChatGPT very simply, would the following response earn the points according to the AP Create Performance Task CED for AP Computer Science Principles? And then paste in the answer. Okay, and it tells me everything. It would not earn the point for 2C. Okay, here's why. Does not use the proper parameter. Okay, doesn't have a parameter that I passed through it. And then it tells it what it needs to do differently. Okay, and here's a revised version of it. So that's the way to get your students to improve on their written response. And even this is kind of like, can you break down your response on how to earn the point? Because I'm a student beginning to learn how to program, and that's a little bit too complex of an answer for me. Right? And then it starts breaking it down even more for your students. So this is how I want you to use ChatGPT, and eventually your students will get to the point where they have an answer, where they can ask it, would this get the response? Okay, how about this response? Would it earn the point? And I'm a big colon guy, and then I just paste in. Why this does earn the point. And it tells your students why they earn the point. So College Board allows them to use AI. You can use AI before the exam, but obviously they can't use it on the day of the exam. So really, what do you want your students to do? We want our students to go through and for the procedure, for the list, and for the test cases, to literally come up with rehearsed answers that they can memorize. We want them to do this leading up to the exam in class with you, and then say you are going to talk to ChatGPT and you're going to iterate it, and you're going to come up with not even something that you memorize, something that you understand so well after reading it so many times that you're going to be able to discuss it on exam day. Okay. And that is really the difference between the 3 out of 6 on the exam and getting the 4 or the 5 or the 6. And you know, it's all downhill from there. If they get the 4, they only got to get 20 questions right on the multiple choice to pass. And they just have to get past a 3, 4, 5. No one cares if they get a 4 or 5 except them. All right. So this is what this assignment is doing. We're just saying to them, let's talk about our procedure. And we do the same thing here with the list. Okay. I used a list called user score. It stores the scores from my game. I put the scores into the list using a pen command. Then I printed the list onto the screen. Does this get the point? No. Well, why not? Because the data in the list has to be a meaningful way. All right. A set of steps like simply putting data into a list and then spitting it out is not enough. Got to do something with it. How many times have I told you, you got to do something with data in a list? All right. And then it goes back to the chief reader report too, and even tells you where in the chief reader report it says that. All right. And then as you can see here, what is a great response? I used the list named quiz answers to store all of the user's answers. Then I wrote a code segment that uses a loop to go through every single item in the quiz answers list. Inside the loop, I used a selection, to check if the answer was correct. And then I program, calculate the user's final score. So it's so much better, but that's what students need to do. All right, and then we get back to test cases. Okay, what's a test case that worked great? Test case one, I inputted the scores 10, 20, or 30. The expected output was 20 because 10 plus 20 plus 30 divided by 3. So that was successful. And then this one, it didn't work. All right. So this assignment, this is the one I really want you guys to use. This is the big part of the create performance test now. It's getting the students to answer the written response in a way that they can earn the point. All right. And if you need to break it down even further, right? Because it's different strokes for different folks. All our kids learn differently. Some students, we're just going to focus on trying to get them one step closer. Well, then you know what? Procedures are hard. Functions are hard. Lists are hard. You're the teacher. Get them the points for the test cases. You should be able to do that. And if you can just get them the point for the test cases, they'll get the video. They'll have the things that they need, the algorithm. They'll get the other points on their own. They'll be able to do purpose and function. All right. So that is the deep dive for the create performance task. Now, what I want to do is just, a lot of people came on late. I just want to highlight a couple things. If you're one of the people who you're done, that's great, right? You've had your review with me. If you want to get a 5-hour certificate of completion, then this week, since you're already in Codio, complete assignments 4, 5, and 6 for me, either using Python or Scratch. Don't do both. I'm not giving you 10 hours. I'm only giving you 5 hours. All right. Now, a couple of things. Everything that we did today is right here under UTeach sample materials. John, good question. I'm going to keep these materials open for the rest of the school year. Okay. My teachers, all right, if you want to meet with me so that you can get the switch to teacher, switch to student button out of your Codio, and you don't want to have access to this for the whole school year, schedule a quick meeting with me by clicking the help tab at the top of the screen, and I will make sure that get you kicked out of our organization so you only have one. All right, but John, good question. Thank you. I'll keep it open for the rest of the school year. You guys should be able to access this. All right, so says right here, first thing, our sample materials. Okay, you guys are in Codio as a student right now. Okay, Codio is a wonderful platform. It does a lot of different things. And if you want to follow these instructions, you can get access to any one. Well, actually, get access to all 3 of our courses: AP-CSP, AP-CSA, and Foundations of Cybersecurity. Eventually, College Board will make that an AP class, and we'll update ours to be AP as well. All right, the cyber one I'm talking about. So you can get access to our stuff. You can go in. You got 30 days to access it. My teachers who already have access to Codio, don't do this. If you want a sample course, I'll give you access. Just reach out to me. All right, but the reason I'm sharing this with you is because if you really like the platform, it's a really great platform. Everything's built into it. You don't use Replit. You don't go out of the platform for Scratch. Scratch is in our platform. It's not an online version. It's embedded. Python, you saw it's embedded. It has code playback, but this doesn't happen very often, and I only have 50 available spots left. But if you're in the state of Texas and you want any one of our courses, usually the course is like $850 or $950, and then PD is another $1,000. TEA will reimburse your school every single penny. All they have to do is lay out the money. You sign up for the course. I get you into the curriculum as soon as possible. You then get 12 weeks to do a very slow, self-paced PD to learn more about Codio. On your own time, you get a 20-hour certificate of completion, and you get access to doing this great create task on Codio. So you can have access to the whole platform. You could even use us to teach your course for the rest of the year. I've used code.org. It seems like I run out of stuff after 2 months. I'm always looking for more stuff to do for the rest of the year. All right, so if you're interested in this TEA reimbursement and you're in the state of Texas, man, it can't be any easier. Literally all you do is sign up for a license. Your school pays for it. 5 days before the PD begins, you get an email from me. When your PD is over, you fill out a form. and the school gets a big fat check back. Okay, so always like we don't get a lot of opportunities like this where we can be totally free. We are part of the University of Texas at Austin, but we don't play football, so we don't get money. We charge enough to keep the lights on. All right, so in addition to having access to the sample materials, this is a bunch of videos about the Codio platform. After you get access to the sample materials, you're probably going to want to know, well, what's the big deal about this program, about this platform? So here are some of those features that we have built into it. I'll just tell it to you blatantly. It's impossible for kids to cheat coding using our platform. We have code playback. We have behavior insights. We can tell you exactly the lines that the students cut and pasted. We can tell you where those lines came from. Okay. And this is just a bunch of short videos that shows you all about the platform if you're more interested in it. If you're not, I'm cool with that too. All right. Create task mastery, elevate your, oh, I thought I took that out of there. That's today's workshop. I was asking people to register for it. All right. And very last and not least, okay, because AI is never least. We here at the University of Texas at Austin have started a big campaign for AI. I think we actually want to make all students bilingual. We want them to speak some sort of language and AI. So we are creating a module for any teacher out there right now who is on this call or watching this recording. You will get access to this next week. It'll magically appear in a course update in any one of your courses you're using for us. It's called the AI Zone. Okay. We are releasing probably 6, maybe 7 AI assignments. We'll be starting with 2 assignments we're releasing. We're like Netflix. We drop with 2 episodes. All right. We're starting with the first assignment, prompt your way through the story of ChatGPT, followed up with ChatGPT 4 versus 5, learning how to prompt for the agent era. And then the third assignment is building your own agents. But for your students, this is a really cool assignment. The AI module, we've created an instructional strategy called Prompt Your Way Through Learning. They don't want to hear us talk. They don't want to read. So the way our assignments are laid out, they prompt their way to learn more information. And hey, if you don't know the story of ChatGPT, you might want to try this out as a teacher. We start off by talking about AlexNet. We then talk in depth about Google. It is mind-boggling that Google blew this and ChatGPT released ChatGPT. Google invented all the technology behind this and then just totally missed the boat. But if you've used Google Gemini recently, they have caught up quickly. Gemini is awesome at image generation and other things. Then we move on how DeepMind and basically teaching computers how to win at video games pushed AI even farther until finally Google once again wrote the Transformer paper. This started letting machines predict your text. Think back to 2017. Isn't that when you started typing into Google and it predicted what the next word you were going to type was? And then we wrap it up with Act 5, where how does ChatGPT go viral? And how does it work? What is tokens? How does it predict the next word? So you can see where we're going with this AI module. We're trying to give students an aha moment with AI. We're doing it in a fun, hands-on way. So yeah, I just wanted to give you the first assignment to check out on your own. All right. Does this have to be under our AP students, or would it be able to be a different class to explore? Charnel, this is going to be released in one of our 3 courses. So if you wanted to, you could just add another CSP course to Codio. Don't put any students into it, and that could be your course that you play around with the AI zone in. All right, I think that makes sense, right, Charnel? So, man, I went 2 hours and 45 minutes. I didn't think I was going to go that long. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I am available to answer your questions, whether you are here live. If you are watching this on recording, in the video description on YouTube will be instructions on how to join the workshop. Please send me an email if you have any questions. Just remember that, the create performance tasks, I always say this, the first time you do it, it's A lot of anxiety, but the second time you do it, you'll be a pro. Please take the opportunity, Google AP CSP Reader. Go read this exam, make some money virtually, learn the ins and outs of it. And I will be sending out the recording of this this evening, or definitely before you go back to work on Monday.